106 Budcast. What are we at this week? 56, guys?
56.
Holy
All the way
smokes.
live from Montana.
56. We've got Honeywells in the studio today as our collab. Honey, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm so fine. It's so much fun to be here with you.
Oh, man. And can I just compliment how wonderful you sound?
Thank
Might be why
you.
we're a little
Isn't
late.
sound technology amazing?
Yes, indeed. And yeah, we do apologize. We know we normally go live at 8:30, and you guys are used to that. We're a little bit late tonight, but you're going to have to live with it. It's all right. We don't have stoner trivia anyway. Unfortunately, tonight, Tanakie is in Texas, of all places. Good luck to her.
Enjoying vacation down there.
Yes, sir. We've got Nate sitting next to me. Behind the desk tonight, we have Hannah and Michelle, but we spent so much time messing with audio tonight, we did not get them loaded, and so you're just going to have to trust me on that one.
Just a regular blooper reel.
Indeed, yes. Honey,
Yes, sir.
what is your brand? What do you do? I know you do a podcast. I listened. I look up there so much. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get you better about that. I've listened to your podcast with the autism specialist, and it was just absolutely enlightening. I really
Did
appreciate
it
all
just rip your heart out?
of it. Yes, absolutely.
Oh
but-
my God.
Mm.
And I want to give you some stoner trivia.
Oh, please.
Cool.
Did you know that the white guys never would have made it over here to this continent without cannabis?
I did not.
You know why?
Ropes and sails.
Why is that?
Because you can't shove a boat across an ocean without sails and rope, both
Yep.
made from cannabis. And then you know what happened when those guys got over here? Our forefathers said, "You shall grow hemp." Why? Because they needed to build our first American Navy.
Mm.
Why? You need cannabis.
Yeah,
Can't shove a boat across an ocean without sails and rope.
that's awesome.
That's a fact.
Isn't that fun?
That is. I didn't know that actually.
I read
The backbone of America was built on cannabis.
Yeah,
And
I read
we've
that
forgotten it
newspaper
all in the
last
last 100 years of prohibition, but that's what prohibition is all about.
Yes, it
That's
is.
a fact. Erasing history. I mean, I read in history class that it was mandatory a lot of time to plant hemp. You had to have a certain amount of acreage on your property if you had enough property planted in hemp. And we went away from that during like the 1920s and 30s, roughly. Started going into the Anslinger age. She's having trouble hearing my mic.
Yeah, are we having trouble on this mic again?
Not yours.
Check.
His, Nate's.
Yes, Nate's.
Yeah, this one here.
Thank you.
Is that better actually? I heard
Yes,
him
so
better.
much better.
This one's better.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Yes.
That's better, Hannah. Whatever you did. Thank
So
you.
yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Oh, that's
Props out to the
perfect.
production team tonight.
Yeah,
They're coming
yeah.
in clutch.
And you were bringing up the devil's name, Anslinger.
Yeah, Henry Anslinger. He's
Yeah.
the main one that brought about a lot of the prohibitionist stuff. Turned cannabis into the evil thing. People were going to come and attack you in the middle of the night. They were going to steal your women and children. It just all kinds of propagandist crap. But interestingly enough, as well, I believe some of the first Ford body panels to the Model Ts and stuff like that were supposed to be a hemp composite as well. And they're getting back to that now in car production. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's an airplane built out of hemp fibers now.
Okay.
Wow.
And
exciting.
Ford even grew like 40,000 acres of hemp to make biofuel with. And he did. And he ran like, I don't know, thousands of cars on it for a while. But hemp doesn't make efficient biofuel. We've got other
Yeah.
stuff that'll do that. So
That makes sense.
they don't
for
do
sure.
that anymore.
Not
Did
enough
you know that's
oil
how
out
they
of a hemp
cleaned up
plant.
Chernobyl?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Did you know that's how they cleaned up Chernobyl after
know,
the big explosion?
I've heard of it remediating like brownfield sites and stuff like that. I wasn't sure on the whole Chernobyl thing. So that's a new
Because
fact.
it's a major suck up of heavy metals.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the
And
hemp plant
so
can mitigate all that heavy metal material that was spilled out.
makes it perfect for water filtration as well.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, one of the things that we are really, really fond of here is promoting everybody and what they're doing out there in the cannabis community. Can you give our viewers who aren't very familiar with us just a quick introduction of yourself, your podcast, what you do?
Oh, thank you, honey. I'd love to. My name, friends out in the audience, is Honey Smith Walls, and I'm a cannabis educator, also the host of the Cannabis Truth podcast, which I've been running for 6 years. I'm just celebrating that because it's not easy for any of us
Yes.
in the cannabis industry to maintain any kind of business because of the undulating ridiculous political shenanigans
It's kind of
surrounding.
Agreed.
it's kind of funny,
Right.
honey. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the longer someone has been in the cannabis industry, the more irate they are with the political situation. So I just relate with you, and we appreciate you. That's all. Carry on, please.
I was in Florida when I started my business, and it was called Cannabis Truth. And the bank said, "Oh, we're not going to open a bank account for cannabis."
Yeah.
I said, "But I just talk about it." They
Right.
said, "No." So I used to go to private girls' Catholic school, and my first lesson of the day was Latin. So I just switched the name to Cannabiverum LLC.
Very nice.
It's Latin for Cannabis Truth,
Yeah.
Cannabiverum, and I've had a business account ever since. But these ridiculous laws that we have to try to manage and negotiate has been a real hardship, not only for recreational cannabis industry, the industrial cannabis industry, and especially the medical cannabis industry, where people really literally suffer and die
Yeah.
because they don't have their medication that can subdue their seizures, their hundreds of seizures a
Yes.
day on babies like Charlotte Caldwell's little boy in the UK. His name is Billy. And thank you so much for listening to that beautiful episode. That was a recent one a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
Well, we appreciate you
he
putting it out there
changed the
for us.
laws because of his illness and because of the mother's, Mama Bear coming out. Charlotte's an amazing woman, and this story is prevalent in the United States as well. And I want to remind everybody with a little more American centers um, information. There was a huge mother's medical marijuana migration to Colorado
Mm.
after the Stanley
Yeah.
brothers discovered that their low THC, no THC hemp they were about to throw out actually stopped Charlotte Figgie's seizures. And
Okay.
she was another baby having hundreds of seizures a day. And she'd been through all of the polypharmacy that our American
Yeah.
medical system of sick care can provide for them. And it was killing her,
Mm.
along with her own, seizures. Her body was shutting down.
Yeah. Yeah. We had
And
a
then came hemp.
we've had a couple of people who have come through our organization or our shop. We have a dispensary. They have expressed how much the low THC, high CBD content stuff has really helped them with certain seizures, MS, all kinds of other ailments. And we're seeing more and more research every day as to what this plant actually does. It's just amazing that there's so many people who continue to really, have some sort of animus towards it when there's so much research and so much information out there that shows how beneficial it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, of course, we are just for educational purposes. This is all our opinions, all that stuff. But I gotta tell you guys, I had 100 milligrams of CBN and CBG today.
Yeah.
No,
That's
nothing else.
cannabinol and cannabigerol for our
Yes.
audience so they know what our acronyms stand for.
Yeah, thank you,
There's,
honey.
not-
Yeah,
there's hundreds of cannabinoids,
there
but these
are.
are the most prevalent ones that we're seeing on the market today.
Yep.
Well,
ahead, Daryl.
and I think a lot of people don't realize that your body naturally produces cannabinoids, and one of the largest central nervous systems in your body is the endocannabinoidal system.
It is a master regulatory governing system over all of your other 11 bodily functions, like your central nervous system and your endocrine system and your skeletal system and your muscular and all of them. It
Mm.
manages all of those systems in your body. That's why it's so infuriating that political shenanigans have ripped it out of our humanity.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
global, not just in America, but global.
Right.
True.
We're hearing that from a lot of our guests. We had a couple of guests from Canada, and they've been really vocal on the fact that where America goes, the rest of the world is going to follow. So they're mainly lobbying for, American legalization, because as soon as America legalizes that, then they expect the rest of the world to sort of follow in suit. And because we've had the prohibition and insisted so much on, prohibition around the world, the war on drugs, we've got into this situation to where we're the ones who are really steering cannabis policy around the world, and we need to get out of the way.
Mm. Getting out of the way is a wise way to put it, because that's really what we want, or at least what I want as an individual, is just for the legislators to stop working so hard to prevent cannabis progress, whether that be the business or research or, I mean, there's so many facets that they seem to try to block.
Yeah, and to me, I look at a lot of these legislative measures and stuff like that, and they have a cobra effect. They tend to want to try to fix something, but they create 20 more problems.
Mm.
And so, the plant's been around for thousands of years. People have been consuming it in all kinds of different manners. They're still doing it today, even regardless of the testing regimens. There's plenty of evidence in legal states that the black market is still prevalent. None of that's tested. None of the homegrown stuff is tested, which, I mean, I love the fact that people are homegrowing. I think that's a great idea.
Mm. Homegrow is awesome. Which state are you located out of again, honey?
So I'm in Michigan, which was originally medical, and they had like 400,000 people sign up. And then the people voted in recreational, and the medical program went down to 30,000, which
Wow.
I am
Yeah.
one. And
Wow.
so in this program up here, all the dispensaries pick out a few products that they call medical and shove it over there to one particular register where you have to go if you have a card. And then you get to pick from those particular few
Sure.
products, and then you get a little bitty itty bitty discount on them for your trouble. Taxes.
What is the tax difference for medical and rec in your state?
I don't know, 6%.
6%.
Wow.
So believe it or not, in Montana, it's what?
23%. It's 6% for medical, or excuse me, 7%, right?
Yeah, with county tax.
Right.
Yeah,
With county
which
tax.
we can assume at this point most counties are flipping. To be
Right.
honest.
Right. So I mean, you look at that, and then you're right around 23% tax.
Yep.
If you're recreational. With county tax.
So that's a 16% difference in Montana if you get a medical card. And even with that, we had a doctor from, well, actually, they were from Vibe Marketing in this case, but
Yeah.
they said that the medical program in Montana was down to what, less than 10,000 or somewhere around there?
Yeah, it was.
Because they make it ridiculously hard for old people who really need this as medicine
Agreed.
True.
to double back somersaults in their goddamn hoops.
Yep,
No,
I
it's-
agree.
It's true. I've had some experience in the past. If someone who isn't technologically inclined, or really just anyone, wants to come into our dispensary and get help getting a medical card, I'm happy to help them file that paperwork at this point, because it is such a pain in the ass. You have to do 5 to 10 minute different trainings, or never mind, that's for a whole different thing. But anyway, you have to do. Do you have to do training for a medical card? It's been a while.
So for your medical card, you just need to go and see the doctor.
Oh, that's right. You have to upload all of your
yeah,
documents.
and then you have
though.
to upload all your documents.
That's right.
You have to upload
Picture
your
of
ID,
yourself.
a bunch
Do you
of
have to
shit.
do that
Yeah.
when you go visit your other doctor for, like an ulcer or something?
Right.
No, definitely not.
Just checking, because I want to know who in the hell gave all of these legislators the ability to get into our doctor's little black bags. Where
Mhm.
did they get their goddamn medical degree? How is it that they know, even though our government has put a patent on this stuff, how do they know what the hell they're doing when
Right.
they're legislating for cannabis?
Well,
I'm
we
so
we
out of
agree with
those
that
peoples.
100%. What we see is we had a medical cannabis program in Montana 20 years ago. We're going on 20 years of some form of legalized cannabis here in Montana,
Hmm.
and it operated perfectly fine. It was about $150 to $500 fee for your license and stuff like that. You had patients. People were able to grow cannabis. There was a yearly inspection. Nobody complained of anything, harming them or anything else like that. Then we went into legalization, and they started legislating the hell out of it. And now it is absolutely hard. I mean, you're looking at $20 to $30,000 worth of licensing fees to start a dispensary and grow. They've also just froze our licenses. They're not going to be issuing anymore, so there's a moratorium. And they've been just chipping away at sort of the medical program here as well, trying to, say anything over 30% THC is medical only. Uh,
Capping THC of
e-
limits, all
exactly
that.
right. Yeah. They tried to get us down to 15% this legislative session. And fortunately, we were able to battle that down and it died in committee. But I mean, it's just a constant stress and a constant strain.
In California, the idiots out there are trying to take CBD out of hemp.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And in Texas, they've banned pretty much anything to do with
Yeah.
Delta or any kind of hemp derived THC.
Oh,
So they're definitely gone the prohibitionist route in Texas, which is pretty ironic because I mean, having that close proximity to Oklahoma, to Colorado, to Mexico, I mean, you're like in the middle of a bunch of weed, trying to say we're going to keep weed out.
it's prohibition. Did you know alcohol? Oh, I'm sorry, not alcohol. Alcatraz was the first for-profit prison built to house black and brown people uh, arrested for marijuana.
Dang. We haven't really explored the deep politics of the original prohibition. That's honestly a really good idea.
I think that would be a good segment for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and really get into the depths of
Mm.
the
Well,
depravity of our own government.
right. Was it Nixon? Was it Nixon? Was it the Reagan administration? Who ultimately
Yeah.
made the biggest decision? What was the
Nancy.
catalyst? Nancy
Nancy
Reagan.
Reagan.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
had like
War on drugs.
an
She had
astrologist. I
her
just
war
heard
on
this story.
drugs thing went around the world, and
Yeah.
then they made pacts
Yeah.
with leaders from other countries, which is why it's been so hard for us to reschedule, deschedule, or change anything about the federal statute of it because of all of these other worldwide ties. You know,
And you want to know what the source of all of this is?
Mhm.
I was just listening to the Hamilton Morris or he was guesting on another podcast, and he was talking about this very story. And
Mhm.
he mentioned that this all came about because Nancy at the time was having quite a bit of negative press. She had just like bought some expensive Chinaware, and the public was like, "Oh, she's just going to the White House." And
Was
buying.
that the same Chinaware that Hillary tried to take?
That could be. I actually don't know. That's a good question. Maybe that would be historically prevalent. But and then so she went to a astrologist, which at the time astrology was huge apparently. And this astrologist was like, "Oh, because like the 12th Neptune, you need to have a policy. You need to get everyone going and rally behind drugs." And so it's just essentially a random decision made by one of her advisors that really kicked all of this off. And I find that to be just utterly fascinating.
I personally see it more as, she started sort of the first lady virtue signaling era. She wanted to go out there and make a name. I'm doing something positive for the community, so I'm going to keep drugs, and I'm going to keep, this plague of drugs from going out to the world. Started the DARE programs and stuff like that, which we've talked about. I mean, in rural Montana, I had no idea what crack cocaine looked like. I had no idea what marijuana actually looked like until they come into school and they were like, "Hey, kids, do you see this plant?" I'm like, Yeah, sure do.
I
I'm gonna
have,
go find some
actually.
of that.
I have seen that
Yeah.
plant before. Now that you
Seen that a
mention
few
it,
times. There may be some out behind the pig barn right now. So, I'll see you later. Bye bye. And so we really had no idea, for a lot of us, what any of that was really about, just because of our rural upbringing. And then, you had a lot of people after that, started the school lunch program, cutting everybody's diets, cutting all the sugars out, everything else like that, which, I mean, I think when it comes down to it, it's sort of a parental and personal choice as to what you're ingesting.
that's always been my opinion. Should be your personal choice. Honey,
Yes,
not
sir.
to do a crazy awkward segue, but I love doing crazy awkward segues. We've
Please.
talked a lot about what we're all here for. We know that we all agree on politicians to stop legislating weed and maybe start smoking it. But along those lines, what's your favorite strain?
What you smoking on?
Oh, dudes, I don't do strains. I
Oh,
figure out
okay.
what the compounds are and the terpenes and the chemicals inside. And I look for a real good certificate of analysis that's going to
Yeah.
prove to me it's clean stuff. I don't get my weed from the dollar store, the gas station, or weed anymore.
No,
The
that's a
shit that
highly
we got
educated
down in
answer.
Florida were square groupers. You know what that is?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
I said the shit that we got down in Florida was called square groupers.
No
What
square.
the hell?
Bales, yeah, they're bales of compacted
Dang.
weed that, that's been dropped into the ocean from the air, and then these fishermen go out and fishing, and they bring back all the weed that Florida smokes.
You know,
Square groupers.
that makes sense for a hunter.
Yeah.
You would think it would just be easier to just walk across to, the border to one of the states that are
Legal.
legalized. Yeah, but
Not in Florida.
I guess you got to have
Not
something to
much.
do.
Most of Florida is well, is long.
Yeah. Yes.
Great recovery.
Yeah, it is. Hey, we got a couple people in the chat here tonight. We got Mariah Roundstone. It's nice to see you. Montana Horseman, we
Maria,
always
what's up?
appreciate you. He was helping us out a little bit with our audio at the start because we were a little quiet. We appreciate that. We got Montana Mama in there. And, of course, I Need to Shave. Classic.
He does need to shave.
I think I need to shave too.
Yes, sir. I know. It's a friendly reminder from our chat. We appreciate you. I have to say I'm incredibly impressed with that answer, honey. Especially with how washed out genetics are these days. Really, if you're smoking a lilac diesel that's, 5% limonene, or some Sunset Sherbert diesel that's 5% limonene, really, are you smoking a different terp profile? Probably not. It's
Not
about
too
the
much.
same. So
May have
Well-
just a hint flavor difference, but not much.
Terpene's terpene, but the point is, each one of them have incredible medicinal values. And so,
what's your favorite
when
terpene?
you know what those are, I'll tell you what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Called beta caryophylline, and there's a reason for that. I'm 70 years old. I've got real bad arthritis. I've got real bad neuropathy in the tips of my fingers. And that one terpene not only settles all of that down for me, that's generally a level 8 out of 10
Oof, that's no good.
in pain.
Yeah.
So when you got that kind of thing going on, it's screaming before everything you want to think about.
Oh yes. I unfortunately relate.
Beta-caryophyllene, that one terpene, beta-caryophyllene, tames that down for elders. But more than that, it absolutely calms anxiety. And I was shocked to find out, whoopsies, I am so sorry.
It's all good.
We love
I was
bloopers.
shocked
yeah.
to find out how fast. Look at that. I snapped my fingers today because I just had my beta caryophylline a while ago. If I don't use that, my fingers freeze and the bones in them won't move, and I can't play recorder, and I can't play lute, ukulele, or So
Can I
that
give you a
1 terpene is
compliment, honey?
amazing. Yes, of course.
I would never have guessed that you're 70 in 1,000 years.
Oh, ain't you sweet?
I'm being serious though.
Yeah.
I'd like genuinely.
Well, I like to tell everybody because this is what 70 can look like if you're feeling good when you've managed your old lady pains, your old lady aches and pains. And I say it that way because I cater to elder women, helping them get past the fear of using bad girl marijuana, right?
Yes.
Help get past the stigma of going to jail for it. Help because that we've all been brought up with that mindset. Thanks,
Yeah.
Nancy Reagan, and to learn how to take her own healthcare autonomy back. We've all been taught that if we feel bad, we go to a doctor. The doctor tells us what we've got, gives us a script. We do the pharmacy dance,
Yep.
and then we take a pill for 10 days and repeat the process if we don't feel better. So with cannabis, we can take care of tons of typical aches and pains and suffering that I call womaning 101 on this planet. Because, women suffer. Let me just say it to your whole audience because I'm not ashamed of our bodies. Women suffer tremendously from hormonal fluctuation from the time just before she starts her first period to the grave.
And there's no education on that for women too.
And they make me nauseated as hell. But if I don't take thyroid pills, my whole life is out of whack. That thyroid pill nauseates me, but my joint in the morning takes care of that. It also lets me snap my fingers. Look at that.
Hell yeah.
Yes, we like that.
It's exciting to be this old and to be able to work past the hurt and the pain that comes with aging because I've been eating poorly all my life. Cokes and burgers and fries and Mickey D's and Taco Bell.
Damn Taco Bell.
Jesus, I love that shit food.
Oh,
Yeah.
me too. It's so
But
good.
it's hard on our bodies.
100% guilty.
So we've been without cannabinoids, phytocannabinoids, for the past 100 years. And Dr. Ethan Russo, who is a leading medical cannabis expert, believes that we have an endocannabinoid deficiency.
Yeah.
Because we've not been able to ingest phytocannabinoids like we've been doing for all of mankind. We've gotten it in our animals. We've gotten it in our teas. We've made all kinds of foods with cannabis in it from before the prohibition. So because of that, there's more ADD, more ADHD, more Parkinson's, more seizures, more all kinds of IBS and sicknesses that have no real sources.
Right.
But Dr. Ethan Russo thinks that it could be that deficiency in our endocannabinoid system from a lack of all that phytocannabinoid that we could have been sucked up on for the last 100 years.
Right. Speaking of old school strains and ADD and all that kind of stuff, well, just for starters, I actually have ADD, and when I did everything right. I waited till I was over 25. Well, waited, quote unquote.
I don't think that's right. Just saying.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. When I say everything right, I just mean by what they recommend currently. Either way, with that all being said, when I started smoking weed after 25, I took myself off of my ADHD medication and was like, I just didn't need it anymore. I didn't want it.
You just didn't need it anymore.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. And along those lines, maybe we should transition into our strain of the week. It's a classic old school strain, Colombian Gold Landrace. And it has been known to be extraordinarily helpful with depression and ADD and ADHD specifically. So again, anecdotal education, blah, 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 all the stupid things. But
yeah, definitely not for sale or any of that. No trade, no sale.
All the descriptions.
So it's an indigenous sativa that's presented the famous skunk #1, a hybrid that has become staple of cannabis breeding. So it's used in a lot of different strains out there.
Yeah, skunk one is basically in just about everything you grow. It attributes that bud shape, really.
Yeah. I like the fact that it's, uplifting, it's focused, has a focused effect as well. It's sort of like that green crack. You can smoke it, you get out there, get some work done, but you can still focus on what you're doing. You're not in some sort of a brain fog.
It also...
How does it affect your anxiety or ADD?
So, reportedly, it actually is one of the sativas that is classically non-anxiety inducing. I know that some can induce a lot of anxiety in people. I think you have a problem with Blue Dream, right?
Yeah, Blue Dream makes me, the only way I can describe it is somewhat paranoid feeling. It's just way too anxious feeling. But, it does supposedly help with depression, exactly, and ADHD.
When you smoke when you use the Blue Dream, are you smoking the whole plant, or are you using a vape, or what are you doing?
So I personally don't do a lot of vapes. I do more of the dabs and the flower. Do some edibles, but typically with the Blue Dream, I always smoked it flower form. I've tried it in the dab form as well. Had the exact same effect. So I think there's just something within its terpene profile. And I know everybody who loves it. I love the flavor of it. It's just one of those that don't work for my physiology.
Right. And also you can tip over the dose that's perfect for your sweet spot.
Yeah.
And make yourself nauseated or anxious or feeling icky,
yeah, no one wants to green out.
Basic. Those compounds are great up to a certain point, and then right after that point, whoops, you just did a 180 and you're feeling like shit.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. I did that on hash one time. Holy shit, the world was like a waterbed.
You know what else I've done that with, actually? Vitamin D. If you take too much vitamin D in a single day, you can have that almost exact same sick feeling.
Damn, we should have had a vitamin D commercial to go on right there. Like, did you get your vitamin D? Like, that was an awesome segment.
Just a quick little 5-second ad. That would have been hilarious. Well, honey, we do have oh yeah, we'll check out the chat here in just a sec. I'll explain to honey. We're going to play a video that we made about this strain, or at least the first minute of it. If you want, guys in the chat, or if honey wants to see the full video, you're going to have to check out our YouTube playlist, of course. We do, it might come through to you, honey, just like a second late, if we'll work that part out. In the meantime, Montana Horseman, he says, fun old-timey fact, the original Colombian gold was gold because they used to dry it out in the open in the direct sun. It would turn the outer leaves gold. I bet you it did turn it gold.
I'm pretty sure I smoked some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I am too.
Did it taste like
a lot of
brick?
It.
Oh, yeah, it definitely tasted like brick. You had to sit there and break it apart for, about 20, 30 minutes and then get all the seeds out of it before you could really...
Wow, I feel so spoiled. I've literally never had that experience. I'm like, I found 3 seeds in a nug and I was furious.
Until you started growing, and then you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, for sure. My opinion's changed. Now I'm like, I wish I had 1,000 seeds.
Right.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, we're going to head into that video right now.
Well, I hopped on a train to the Santa Marta Hills, where the sun stays high and the time stands still. Met a farmer with a grin and a burlap sack. He said, son, once you smoke it, there ain't no going back. Colombian gold, she's a mountain queen, smooth like honey and the bud so green. Take a puff and your world
Okay, we're coming back.
And we're back.
And we're back. Again, if you guys want to see that full video, make sure that you go check out our YouTube playlist. We've got that going up on Apple Music soon, too, so we'll have all of that stuff available everywhere for you. And
Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. Get out there and listen to some quality cannabis tunes.
Well, I promise, honey, that music was absolutely amazing. It's like nothing you've ever heard before.
The greatest song you never heard.
Yeah, it's it's not the greatest song ever. This is just a tribute. Anyway, that's a little music egg for someone in the chat, I'm sure.
That was nice, sweetie. Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
I was going to just say, capping off that Columbia Gold real quick. The terpenes, we were talking about those earlier. I think it's important that we hit that terpene profile. Limonene, myrcene, and caryophyllene, just like Honey was saying out there, one of her favorite terpenes.
Yep.
I like the limonene. I do like the myrcene as well. So I think it's really good balance.
Yeah, it is. We've been seeing, honestly, most strains are myrcene, limonene, caryophyllene these days.
Yeah.
At least the ones we've been getting voted in by the chat. So maybe you guys need to expand your horizons. Just kidding.
Well, I think what happened was a lot of people were trying to push for those high THC levels and stuff like that. And so you just were sort of limited on a base profile of what you were growing. And so, looking at a lot of these people who are coming here, they want more of the 1-to-1 strains, whereas before those weren't as prevalent. They just wanted the high THC strains.
That makes sense.
Do you wonder
Who
if it's
are
that
the
skunk one?
demographic of those two sets of people?
It's interesting because it seems to be a wide variety. There's a lot of people who do come in of somewhat of the older age. I would say not older age, but probably from 45 to 65, 70. And they walk in, I need the highest THC stuff. I mean, Daniel had a gentleman who was pretty interested in the highest THC stuff. He was able to give him some 19% stuff, and the guy come back and he ounced out on it. It's just a good education point for sure. But and then a lot of the younger people also come in. What's the highest THC? What's the highest THC you have?
But can I tell you something?
Yeah, please.
They've all been led to believe that the more the better, and that just isn't true.
Agreed. Yeah.
And so when these dispensaries continue to sell to the public this way, the highest, so many of that population becomes anxious. And the latest population of people who are overusing THC are now coming down with a condition called cannabis hyperemesis, where they puke their guts out
That
after
sounds terrible.
smoking a joint.
Yeah, hypermesis. I think that there's a lot of overuse for sure. I mean, people are just sitting there sucking on a vape pen and not really realizing, you're just ingesting
They've not
a
been
huge
taught.
amount of cannabis, and so they're hitting that green sick point, stuff like that.
Real easily.
Real easily for sure.
Yeah.
I find when I have a vape around, I suck on it like a binky. I make fun of myself. I make fun of myself for it. I'm like, oh, Daniel's got to have his binky. And I'm like, shut up, self. So, yeah, totally, dude. Like, let's be
Daniel,
honest
I'm
with
you,
ourselves.
honey. I get one in my purse and take it out for a minute and look at it and fondle it and then suck on it for a while. And I'm afraid it doesn't come out of my hand until I've done bad things to it.
Yeah, it's a bad habit, and it's too convenient.
Well, yeah, that's
It
the other
is.
thing is the convenience, and people not really thinking as well. I just drank, a whole lemonade that had X amount of milligrams of THC and other terpenes in it. And then I'm going to sit there and I'm going to smoke a joint and then maybe have a dab, and they're not quite considering the fact that you're probably overloading yourself. pretty
Yeah, wait
heavily.
for the lemonade, bro.
You're probable too. Yeah, totally. Wow.
And I
Yeah,
think
it's real easy to figure out what your own sweet spot is, but you got to understand a little bit of fundamentals about cannabis to get there.
Definitely.
Mm.
And I
That's
think
what I do.
I think
with
that's why
women.
shows like this, shows like yours, is really,
Yeah.
really important to really start educating people about that. It's
Yeah.
really hard to find information that's quality about
Yes.
how this is really going to affect you, what's going on there. You know,
Exactly.
and we're restricted on a lot of stuff we can say as
Exactly.
far as dispensaries and
Each
stuff
state's
like that.
different.
So,
Every
yeah.
state is different. You're right.
Yeah.
So how do I find out if I can get a product, where I can get a product, who to trust to get that product from, how to dose it for myself? You know, I'm an elderly woman or middle-aged woman, and it's never been legal before. Now it is suddenly, and all I ever hear about is CBD and THC. But what do I do with it?
Right.
Yep.
What is THCA? What is Delta
Yeah,
9
what's
THC? What's
THCA?
Delta 8?
Yeah.
What's
What
and
the
then
hell?
Then you have the
Yeah.
synthetic stuff. you
yeah, I
know,
was
that
just
they're
gonna say
bringing
the
online.
list of synthetics is endless. now,
Oh,
so,
it's scary.
yeah.
HHO and all of that, and D8 and all of that junk.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Well, and you know, you can order it online anymore. Just pop up, you know, go, hey, by the way, let's get 5-gram carts, 3-gram carts, 10-gram carts,
Right.
you know, online, and then you have state restrictions. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that you have all of those things that can be done at the same time. You know, and I think overall there's a lot of people really wanting a lot more information, and that goes back to my point of the government just needs to really get out of the way. They can't get legalization done. You know, and so all of the states that have wanted legalization seem to be able to implementing programs. So we really don't need the federal government involved any further, in my opinion.
Right.
The doctors, the medical people in this industry are in the cannabis industry are really trying to push it towards like a new scheduling,
Yeah, and I think that's
like a
great.
Schedule 6 or something. Something that would allow us into the medical system that's already established to pay for our insurance, to, you know, make sure that we can send it through the mail and go through different states and start standardizing things.
Wow, that's a new update I haven't heard on that debate. That would be an interesting one. I think it's probably, you know, I mean, I would prefer just them not be involved in the first place, but I think it's probably better than Schedule 3.
Well, you know, it goes back to one of the conversations we had when we first started the podcast here, and when I was going to Washington D.C. and stuff like that and lobbying, way back in the day. And I'm not going to tell you how way back in the day it was, but
At least 1 year ago.
it wasn't in a covered wagon. But you know, we were really pushing. We said, look, Montana has legalization now on the medical level and stuff like that. Why don't we have legalization on the federal level? And one of the senators for the state of Montana told me at the time, he's like, look, here's the simple situation. If we were to legalize it right now on the federal level, we would have, you know, a minimum of 50 lawsuits from every single state, because every state's going to say, no, you didn't consider this, you didn't consider that, you didn't consider this. So if we take more of a hands-off approach and just let the states put in all of their infrastructure, all of their rules first, and then just say, yep, it's legalized by the state rules, then nobody can argue that it was a top-down measure, and we can avoid all those lawsuits. Plus, it standardizes it within the states, which they're allowed to control it through their jurisdictions anyway.
But it won't standardize anything. And it's like, if I take acetaminophen here in Michigan and go to Ohio, they don't let me use acetaminophen in Ohio.
Uh-huh.
Wow, really? Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Oh, I was like, what the fuck? You can't have acetaminophen in Ohio? That's crazy.
See how
Oh, okay.
stupid it is?
Yeah, no, that's a perfect example. It really is, because that would be insane.
Yeah.
That's our point.
Outlawing it in
That's
one
our
state
point.
versus another state, you know, and I can see that for sure. Then you get into the position where it gets way too standardized, and you're sort of like our friends up north in Canada, to where, you know, there's a couple of just big grow operations, there's maybe 10 to 15 strains at best to choose from. And that was one of the problems they were talking about with way too much standardization from the federal level down. So, it's then you get into a lot of the state regulations, stuff like that. You see how they're starting to falter, and a lot of the legacy markets, I guess, are starting to come back. And most of your state licensed growers and state licensed dispensaries and stuff are starting to fall by the wayside because of the regulation burden.
Yeah, I think we were talking about the attrition we've seen in Montana earlier over the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of businesses close, and I haven't seen a lot of them open.
No, and we've got they keep talking about license counts and stuff like that, but they're not talking about the license that have been already acquired by the larger businesses, the multi-state operations that weren't supposed to be here, but apparently they are.
Big time.
Yeah.
Truly.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead again, honey.
Curaleaf.
Curaleaf. Yeah. I mean, they have to. I don't want to explain how to do it, but there's ways. They figured it out.
Yeah, there's always going to be a way around any rule, and people will always find loopholes and stuff like that. And I mean, it's the way we are. We're a capitalist society, and a lot of people in other areas are starting to see a blossoming of cannabis industries and stuff like that. But these multi-faceted operations are taking over in other countries, not just in other states.
Dude,
so
yeah, no kidding. How many? I am a big follower of the Canna Business subreddit, and people have been talking about going to Taiwan and all over in the Middle East and beyond for probably a good couple of years at this point.
Yeah, Germany is another ripe spot. A lot of people are always talking about Taiwan for sure. I think Frank Chen, when we had him on from Canada, he was talking about Taiwan being a pretty good hot spot that he was paying attention to. And, I think diversification is a great thing and stuff like that, and bringing the plant to, all these different places. But when do you lose that authenticity? When is it just really just some commercial grown ibuprofen?
Yeah. It is a good point. I sort of wish what happened was that all of the weed from these different regions, like let's say the Afghan, the Colombias, I know that there's weed land races from all over the world at this point. Wouldn't it be cool if we still just focused on those things in those regions and perfected them?
You mean get some Acapulco gold from Acapulco and here you go.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I guess I get it. We essentially are with breeding and trading and good microclimates and stuff like that. But there's something about the human element, right? Trading amongst people and the community. We've lost a lot of that in,
That's what boutique farmers have to do.
True.
Well, and we got the privilege.
And their stuff I would think, would gain the most money.
Yeah. We I agree with your position 100%, honey, that they are the ones that gain the most money at the end of the day. And hopefully we can keep those boutique farmers around. We're starting to see an interesting one, and we had the privilege through the Best in Grass competition that we went out and did some filming, some interviews for them. Got to view a garden that was rather a large indoor grow operation, but they had multiple 10 by 16 tents that they were using as micro gardens.
Yep.
And so they had that sort of boutique, individual small crop, but in a large warehouse format. And I thought that was pretty dang impressive for sure.
It was
So
impressive.
I wonder what the footprint of that operation is, because these great big greenhouses of cannabis are terrible for ozone.
And
yet, I don't want my stuff thrown outside next to the city dump either.
Right.
That's a great question.
If I'm getting medicine, I want that stuff that's going to be clean.
Absolutely.
And I love checking on the different ways of farming, starving the crop for water at a certain point so that the buds gather more of the compounds and THC up in the trichomes,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sugar
then
in the
you
buds.
flush it with water, and and then there's freezing, the crop right as it comes off the stalk and stuff like that. So there's lots of different styles of forming this product and coming up with different medicinal values for the same strain.
Agreed. Yeah.
True. Very true.
Well,
You can get a different THC read on a plant from the top to the bottom,
Right.
whether you're, depending on where you're squeezing it from.
That's true. That's true.
So, can I interrupt for just a second? I just wanted to give you an update on the lab situation. And
Oh, okay.
Nordic Lab is still not able to test for pesticides at this time.
Wow. So what Michelle is referring to out there for people who aren't aware, Montana has 2 testing laboratories only, and every single product has to be tested for pesticides, has to be tested for heavy metals, all kinds of different stuff. You can also get your terpene profiles and panels and stuff like that done. Initially started off as a safety measure, but one of the laboratories has a piece of equipment that they were supposed to get, and they were supposed to have inspected, apparently, and the inspector has not been able to get out there and get that accomplished. A lot of this is hearsay, the word on the street that we're getting stuff, but they've been down for almost 3 weeks, 4 weeks now, 6 weeks. Holy smokes! They've been down for 6 weeks, and a lot of the product that was sent to them for testing is still locked up there. And so, if you had dab carts, if you had flour, if you had any kind of product that was sent to them, it was stalled right there. And so there's a lot of companies out there who have products that they're waiting to get tested. Of course, when you only have
There's
one
only 2
laboratory,
labs, you said.
right? And now there's only one laboratory, and they're basically trying to, keep up with the market, and they're showing that it's nearly impossible for them to do that. And so we're really having a crunch to a lot of businesses around here, and it's having a huge financial impact, not just on the bigger businesses, but on the smaller businesses as well. So everybody's feeling it across the board.
Named Dr. Getze, Dr. Michael Getze, an MD. He's in New York now, I think, but he used to live out in Montana, and he opened the first laboratory out there to, check cannabis.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book called Pop Doc, and it's an excellent book, but it'll break your heart.
As most early industry advocates, we're not there for fun.
No.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, he had to write a book about it to get over the PTSD it gave him.
Yeah, Montana has been a absolute brutal place when it comes to cannabis. But that's sort of Montana in general. We've always had sort of that frontier spirit, and you got to be sort of tough to live here for sure. Winters are harsh oftentimes. The bears will definitely give you a cuddle. And the buffalo wants you to pet them for sure.
Yeah, definitely touch the buffalo. Speaking of Montana, I think
Do
we
not.
should. Yeah,
Do
don't.
not
That was a
touch
joke.
them.
Please, it
Not
wasn't
the
even a
fluffy
joke.
cows.
Pet the fluffy cows.
Oh,
Pet the
God,
fluffy
please
cows.
don't. Please don't. It's such a joke here for us, but please don't.
Well, speaking of Montana, I think we should head on into that news, guys. We started late and we're already at an hour. So
we think we got a couple of comments out there, but yeah, we
Hell
can run
yeah.
that video real quick.
Oh yeah, shoot. We're gonna run that guest video here real quick for you, honey. We normally do this like at the start, but we had so much fun talking to you. We're gonna try to pass this through to you, so hopefully you will actually get to see this one. If not, we'll send it to you afterwards, and you'll have to get back to us. Please
Smoke them if you got them.
Yeah, it's a nice time for a smoke break. This is a 3-minute video, so we'll be right back after this.
She walked in with wisdom and a fire in her eyes, talking plant truth where the silence lies. From the roots to the bloom, she saw the light. Now she's teaching folks how to heal it right. Not afraid to challenge the tale of lazy myths in a system that failed. She's got science in one hand, stories in the other. Lifts up the voices they tried to smother. Honey knows, honey grows. Truth in the soil and love in the smoke. Speaking for the elders and the ones left behind. She's the shaman of the leaf with a warrior's mind. Yeah, honey knows how the healing flows. From Florida sun to digital waves, she's breaking down fear with every word she says. Cannabis truth, that's her battle cry. For the mamas and papas still scared to try. She ain't selling hype, she's serving facts. Taking big pharma to school with class. With a mic and a mission, she lights the way for the lost and the curious every day. Honey knows, honey grows. Truth in the bud and peace in the dose. Teaching the plant like a sacred art. From the ECS to the beating heart. Yeah, honey knows how the healing flows. She's been burned by the system, lifted by the plant, giving voice to the ones who thought they can. A sister, a sage in a world full of smoke. She's the light through the haze. No gimmick, no joke. Honey knows, yeah, honey shows what it means to lead when the medicine grows. With grace and grit and truth as her guide. She's the queen of the green with nothing to hide. Oh, honey knows.
All right, we're coming back.
Okay. But boom, we're back. Did you get to hear that?
I did not, but it looked darling.
Oh my goodness. God
Oh,
dang it.
man.
Well,
Well,
we'll
we'll have
figure
to
it
send
out
it
one
to
of
you.
these days.
Okay.
I still think I do know how to fix that, guys. You know the monitor settings that we were messing with to get the audio? I think you have to turn the monitor off for the video in the settings on that scene specifically. Yeah, but we'll
That's
figure it
asking
out.
a lot of your stone production team.
Look, guys, just play the piano back
Happy
there
Daddy.
while we're talking in between each word. It's so easy. Well, shoot.
We
Well,
appreciate you, honey. We will get that sent over
We'll
to
get it to you.
I'll
All
have
right,
it in your
darling.
email. And
please
You always
post it
do
on your
great.
socials and link us. I know you're
Tag
going to love it.
goddesses.
Yes.
I know you'll love it. Awesome. Well, shoot. All right. I guess we'll head on into the news with Nate then.
Yeah, we don't need to play the video.
Okay.
We could
Cool.
just,
Let's hit
we
it.
could just jump right into that stuff. So, starting off right here in Montana. Montana Senate Bill 27, which takes effect July 1st, 2025, will freeze the legal cannabis footprint statewide. So, means no new dispensary locations can be added after this date. And what they're doing is they're saying that there is a June 30 final deadline. You have to have your CCD application into the Cannabis Control Division by June 20 is what they're recommending, and that all of your forms, everything be done and approved by that point. Because if you don't have approval come June 30, you're not going to get anything on July 1. So if you're wanting to get it done and get it done quickly. So, you know, you are able to move the licenses, those who do have licenses, if they're stuck at a location, let's say their lease gets canceled, they're able to go ahead and move those, but they're not going to be approving any brand new locations. So we're stuck in our footprint here in Montana. We're froze. The government has stepped in. They're hoping that this will prevent a lot of the things that we saw in Oregon, California, Washington, where the prices just drop right out of the bottom. I don't think that's going to be the case when you can order again online, get some of these THC products just mailed to you in the mail. And when you have people doing sort of race to the bottom activities, I think that they're going to find that even with a frozen footprint, things are going to go downhill. So we're already starting to see it in the market, I think.
Well, I mean, let's kind of face reality too. You know, the economy isn't the best that it's ever been, and the luxury goods are down, and cannabis is a luxury good.
Well, and we're hearing it not just from cannabis, but we're hearing it from restaurants, from bars, from all kinds of different service industry places that, you know, they're just not seeing the amount of customers coming into their stores. And I think that's something that, you know, the people up on Capitol Hill need to start paying attention to quite quickly, because they're paying attention to Wall Street, but they really need to start paying attention to Main Street. Because that's where people are hurting. We're going to start seeing small businesses fall out. It's great that we have these big multi-billion-dollar corporations coming in and building stuff, but who the hell's going to feed the workforce when there's no restaurants to take care of them? There's nobody else to, do any of the ancillary stuff that most businesses rely on from the communities. And so I think they need to get a balance on that before they're trying to hand out a bunch of stimulus checks.
I wonder how regional that is. Honey, how is it in your area? Do you see dispensaries popping off like crazy around there? Are they struggling, or what's it like? Neutral legislation?
I'm kind of up here in a more rural district, so it takes me about 5 whole minutes to find a dispensary. And when I do, it's totally recreational, even though they say they've got a little itty bitty smidge of medicinal product available for you. But the turnover in budtenders is huge. There's no education. Can't make a living on what they pay anybody. It's kind of gives the budtenders PTSD from what I hear working at these places.
It's a little bit of a tough industry for sure.
They don't care. They don't care about their client who is actually a patient. And so they've been promoting the highest high for all this time. And once patients realize it's not about the high, it's about fixing this stuff inside of me. It's a different story. And if corporate could ever catch up to the patient, instead of who they think their avatar client is, just trying to get high.
Agreed. They need to stop listening to the pharmaceutical reps and stuff like that show up. Polypharmacology is a real big problem in the United States right now. But one of the
alcohol making all their nano products.
Well, and we're starting to see alcohol try to take over cannabis as well, as especially when it comes to cannabis drinks and stuff like that. They have a pretty big lobby. They're saying, look, if you're going to deal with intoxicating drinks, we've got to be the one that deal with it. But going on to the news a little bit more, cannabis may boost chemotherapy and reduce side effects, new study suggests.
I'm sorry, can I just laugh at that a little bit?
Right.
Study just found out that it reduces chemotherapy side effects?
Right, and we've known this anecdotally for 20 damn years.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm happy that they're figuring it out, but I feel like they could have just asked.
Well, and I think a lot of these new studies that they're talking about, you point out very adequately, are just a bunch of like, I read a history book, and guess it's a new study. So
with that in mind, though, I guess, what's the news? What did they find?
So a new preclinical study from researchers in U.S. and Israel published in Frontier in Pharmacology, Pharmacology, we just said it, found that combining THC with standard chemotherapy may not only improve cancer-fighting outcomes, but it also reduces the side effect like pain, appetite loss, and nausea. So combining cannabis with the chemotherapy is more of an effective route. And yeah, I was listening to a doctor recently. He was talking about some of the things that, rather than irradiating the body hugely with chemotherapy and stuff like that, what he was explaining is that they just want to get a pinpoint enough to the cancer cell to where it opens itself up and then allows it to start absorbing a lot of the THC and stuff like that, which would start causing apoptosis.
Okay.
Which, I mean, basically causes the cancer cell to get the munchies so damn bad it eats itself.
Hell yeah.
And so they're finding a lot of these new medicines and stuff like that and these new treatments. And I'm really hopeful that, they're going to look and see exactly how beneficial this is and just allow it to be used rather than trying to regulate it to a point of saying, nope, now we've got to take this away. You can't be home growing this stuff. This is medicinal only. Because there's always that balance there too.
I'm glad to hear that you quoted that source coming out of Israel. And did you say with America as well?
Yeah, it was the U.S. and Israel published in the Frontiers in Pharmacology. Is where they got
so
it.
that's a very prestigious magazine. And so I'd give that some credence. I'd like to see that citation.
Most certainly. THC appeared to synergize with common chemo drugs in the lab models is what they're finding. And so it actually helps boost the effectiveness. And I look at the endocannabinoidal system, and I think that's one of the main reasons why it's a much larger delivery system. And so you're able to...
Those chemicals really like hug each other basically and go through together.
Right.
Yeah.
They found that with, opioids early on, people who were trying to get pain management, that if they combined it with cannabis, that what was happening is the opioids, they had a problem going through certain receptors and stuff like that, and they only delivered to a certain point in your body. But cannabis was able to bind with the opioids and then pull them through the endocannabinoidal system and deliver them much more efficiently throughout the body, giving better pain relief. And so they're finding that as well.
I think that
Meaning so that the opioid consumption was a lot less eventually through the use of cannabis.
Yeah, and the side effects coming off of opioids, because sometimes, if you've been on an extended use of opioids for pain management or whatever else, the withdrawals and the side effects coming down from it can be quite devastating. And they found that those were significantly reduced by people who had the combination of cannabis and opioids. So.
And what was in the cannabis that affected that particular thing? Beta-carotene.
I was gonna bet.
I'm not kidding you.
That's
the
definitely
thing that helps you get off of the opioids and drugs and stuff. It's the exit compound in cannabis that helps people get off of anything that they're addicted to. It could be sugar. In my case, it happened to be champagne, which I needed to drink all the time. I'm such a party girl.
Good and bubbly.
I don't feel like it anymore because I'm always taking BCP instead. Anyway, continue. Fascinating.
I think it works that way with CBD too, right? THC and CBD synergize.
Yeah, a lot of that. They
Most
have overlap.
That's why those one-to-ones I think are really popular with a lot of people. The CBD to THC drinks. Although it's preclinical, it's very promising. We're gonna have to see how it plays out in clinical trials and stuff like that.
Exciting.
But there's no reason we really shouldn't be green lighting this. We've seen this a long time ago for sure. In Montana, we experienced this with Cash Hyde. He was a young cancer patient, Mike and Callie Hyde's son. Mike was one of the first people who actually started feeding him Rick Simpson oil through his feeding tube. They saw a turnaround in his overall health and stuff like that at the clinic down in Denver. So, I think for people who are paying attention, there's always been a lot of good evidence, but I'm glad they're finally getting the clinical trials close.
That is extremely exciting news to me.
Absolutely. So we had the freeze that we were talking about here in Montana. The other thing that we've got going on out there is the U.S. marijuana industry to inject $123 billion into the U.S. economy in 2025 is the projections that are going on out there.
Wow.
So, the U.S. cannabis sector is on track to contribute an eye-popping $123 billion to the national economy in 2025. That is according to MJ Biz Factbook report. What's included in the figures is retail sales revenue, job creation and payroll, retail real estate leases, ancillary businesses like lighting, packaging, security, all kinds of other stuff that's out there. And,
feed the hungry and house the poor.
we've been doing that for sure, and I mean, it's pretty amazing that us lazy stoners who are just putting pot in a baggie and sliding it across the counter could do such wonders for our entire economy. But I got to say, that's the ultimate flex, is the amount of revenue that cannabis is generating, not only in states, but across the world. And I think
and that's being restricted.
Yeah,
Right.
That's exactly
yes.
right.
That's with
exactly
it being
right.
restricted. Yeah, absolutely. I was I guess I don't really have anything to say about that. Yeah,
That's all
it
I
is
got to say
interesting.
about
We
that.
talk about the cannabis industry a lot, but some people don't consider the alternate stimulus that cannabis brings. So, for instance, let's say I know that we don't have great cannabis banking available everywhere yet, but once we do, those extra bankers that are hired because of the cannabis industry, that's also an increase in the economy because of cannabis. The increase in banking, increase in packaging, insurance. Yep, any business function that any other business has, a cannabis business has as well.
Well, I mean, think about the
Uniforms.
electricians. The cannabis business needs electricians. They need, accountants. They need plumbers. They need all of the ancillary businesses that, even a restaurant would use. And so if you have...
Interstate transaction.
That's exactly right, yeah. Well, interstate and international, for sure.
International.
We should have the ability to work with international partners, like Daniel was saying. I mean, I would love to be able to offer, on the shelf, some locally sourced Acapulco Gold or some locally sourced, Afghan Kush.
Shipped
or,
in. It could be expensive, but you know what? If
You want some
wanna try
Thai
it-
stick? We got it. It came from Thailand this
Yeah,
morning.
literally.
But,
Exactly.
And those things are going to be exciting to me, and that's one of the things that I am really looking forward to. Of course, we need some safety features there for sure. I mean, we don't want somebody spraying something and sending it over and it just be absolute trash and harmful to people. But at the same time,
No, I can get that at the dispensary right now.
Oh man.
I liked your dollar store analogy earlier. I think everybody's pushing for the race to the bottom, but then they're going to wind up with dollar store toys.
Right.
Yep.
Don't chew on them. They might have a little bit of lead for you.
About their gummies.
Lynn Cliff out there in the chat, welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
Lynn,
We
what's up,
appreciate
brother?
you.
Good seeing you today. So, I mean, that's pretty much it as far as the major news that's going on out there. We already touched on the fact that Texas is out there trying to shut down everything, be a prohibitionist state. I mean, we've got, what was it, square groupers out there in Florida.
Yeah, Florida.
And so I think we've covered quite a bit. The only thing that's seemingly moving out there is Germany seems to be doing a lot of different rule changes, trying to figure out their market. And there's a lot of people anxiously waiting for that to pop off.
Yeah.
Get rid of that 500 gram limit.
You
You
know,
can grow 10 plants, but you can only harvest 500 grams. Good luck.
Right. Italy keeps fluctuating on what they're going to do about it.
Yeah. It's, I think our friends up in Canada are really astute to point that we probably should get together here in the United States, especially with all these different organizations throughout the different states that have been able to push for legalization within their own, areas. We need to really focus on pushing more to the national level and making sure that they're being held accountable to get this across the finish line. I mean, there are a couple of bills out there. There's the SAFE Act. I believe it's the SAFE Act.
Safe Banking
or
Act.
States Act.
State
2.0 Act. And that one seems to be the best one. And what it just basically says is, if it's legal in your state, then whatever you did, that's fine. And if you want to legalize it, that's fine. It's none of our business, and you can go bank. And I mean,
That sounds
I
good.
think that's one of the best federal bills that we could come up with.
It's hard to argue with that one.
So that's it, and that's the news. We appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with us as far as listening to us ramble on about what's going on, not only in Montana, but across the United States and the world. And what else do we got on the agenda?
Oh, I think that's it, guys.
What's
What?
that?
Oh, their production
definitely.
team is saying we got to do plugs. No,
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
We've also got to give a plug to those guys out there, Madhouse, and that golf tournament that we
that
were
was
there
fun as shit.
this
Oh,
weekend.
expect some fun clips for that.
Yeah, and we're going to have some great clips. We'll have some good footage coming out this week, and we'll definitely be sharing that out. So pay attention for that to come down for you.
Yes, sir.
We also have clips coming out for the Best in Grass interviews that we did, as everyone, like dispensaries and local wholesalers in the Montana area, were dropping off all of their entries, which unfortunately did also get affected by the lab being shut
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
Some
definitely.
of those entries, just throwing that out there. Judging kits are available to purchase at this time.
Get out there and get those judging kits. You're going to have all kinds of different dispensaries. I mean, I think there's 25, 26 different products in some of these judging kits. So you're going to be able to sample products from all across Montana, whether that be flour, whether that be edibles, whether that be concentrates. So those are, something that's you need to get your hands on for sure.
Absolutely. I know that I have been looking forward to getting my hands on one of the flower judging kits. So I haven't yet. I hope that they still have some available. They could be sold out right now, so you better get down there and get some.
You better hook it up. Yeah, we got to give a shout out to Mark Kaz and those guys out there. The other thing that you guys are going to see is probably some clips of some strain reviews that we've done. We had our friends Marco and Sammy over at PowerPoint. They were able to send us some samples. Power Plant, excuse me.
PowerPoint.
Uh,
What, in tarnation?
we-
We've been
we-
doing too much work today.
Too much damn Microsoft in this one.
Yeah, for sure.
So over there at Power Plant, they sent us some wonderful samples. We were just eating some of the gummies right here tonight. Absolutely great. Overall, well done, and we appreciate those. If anybody else out there wants us to do an on-air review, get a hold of us. We'll get that done, and then we've got to, of course, throw it out.
We got that bomb e-rig SciCloud that we will be giving away. We are going to be giving this away on our YouTube channel. We figured out how to pull our subscriber list, so we will make sure that you are subscribed.
Yes, that will be the basis for our giveaway. It's going to be going through our YouTube subscribers to get a hold of those.
Make sure that you're subscribed. We will probably pick a random subscriber from. We can tell if you have subscribed in a certain time frame, so we'll know.
Get out there and get it done, folks. But also, smash that like button, and then when Honey tells you what all of her socials and stuff like that are here in just a second, make sure you get over there, give her some love.
Absolutely. Honey, it's all you.
So y'all tell your grannies and your mamas and your aunts and your cousins, to come chat with me if they'd like to take control of their own health care again. And I can show them how to use cannabis safely and effectively, with or without the high. It's easy alchemy. And I tell all these new gals, it's as easy as putting butter and cereal on pancakes. You can do the cannabis alchemy. So I've got a sweet, free little gift for y'all. And that just puts you into my little circles. If you want to come, let me help you with this. If you go to healingbeyondhigh.com/kit, KIT, you'll find a wonderful cannabis first aid kit there. It's going to show you in a PDF form that you can print out what I think would be important to be in any woman's first aid kit to, assuage all of those bumps and bruises and aches and pains that you really don't need a doctor dance for. You just need to know what the right cannabis product is.
That's
And I
fantastic.
give you my 3 trusted sources. So again, healingbeyondhigh.com/kit. KIT. By the way, that's the name of my book, Healing Beyond High, by Honey Smith Walls. Go there and come play with me and hang out with me.
Fantastic. We would love to do that, honey. We will make sure to get that link posted in all of our descriptions.
Thank you.
Well, and we appreciate you coming here to Montana, even though it's remote, and playing with us here in the remote locations of Montana.
Yeah. Thank you for your assistance earlier as well, getting all of our audio worked up, and glad that we got it all
I
sorted
loved
out.
all that fun with y'all.
Yeah.
It's been such a fabulous conversation. Thank you for just letting me be me about cannabis.
That's
That's
awesome.
refreshing.
That is what we are here for. So it brings me great joy to hear you say that.
Well, we look forward to having you back maybe in the future as well. You know,
Yeah, you are a lot of knowledge. I know I want to pick her brain more.
definitely.
Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And vice versa. Let me have one of you guys come back on my show and let's talk about all kinds of things between here and Montana, okay?
We would love to.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And I guess with that in mind, honey, we will be ending the show. You can stick around for a minute if you'd like to, but everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Montana Horseman, you are an absolute legend for sticking around
Lynn,
for as long as you have and for as
Maria,
many weeks.
everybody else out there, we greatly appreciate you.
We appreciate each and every one of you guys out there. Make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button. Seriously, we have been absolutely popping off on YouTube. Our clips are going crazy, but you need to hit subscribe. So I'm going to leave you with one question here tonight before we go. If you like indicas, make sure that you hit subscribe. And if you like sativas, then make sure you leave a comment.
And if you like hybrids, make sure you smash that like button.
That's right. And if it doesn't matter, then do all 3.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were gonna say, and if you like indicas, hit subscribe.
I was gonna do that, but I decided to stop. I decided not to. That's you know me too well. All right, peace out, guys.